welcome to this lesson. I'm teacher Agnes, and today we are going to learn how to estimate length. So our discussion will be about estimation of length. So the word estimation means that we'll not be getting the accurate measurement of length, but rather approximating length given some measurements. So we are going to begin this lesson by watching a video. Pay attention as you watch a video, and then you will have some follow-up questions after you have watched the video. Now, what you might have noticed from the video is that anytime you want to estimate length, you must do some sort of comparison, okay? You must do some sort of comparison between the object whose length you want to estimate to another object whose length that you already knew. For instance, in the video, you wanted to find out what is the length of a phone, and you had to compare that to the length of a pen, which was already predetermined. So anytime you want to estimate length, then the aspect of comparison comes in. So when doing comparison, then you must always find ratio, okay? You must always find ratio, which is basically division. Now allow me to explain this using an example. Let's say my height, so this is my information. Let's say my height is 100 centimeters. Of course, I'm taller. And my shadow, so when I stand in front of light, a shadow is formed. So let's say my shadow is 50 centimeters. And then there's you. So let's say your length is 80 centimeters. And then when you stand in front of the same light as me, your shadow is 40 centimeters. Now, are you able to notice the relationship between me and my shadow, you and your shadow? So looking at this closely, you realize that 50 is half of 100 centimeters, while 40 is half of 80 centimeters. So what is happening here is that the ratio of my height to my shadow, okay, the ratio of my height to my shadow will be 100 divided by 50, which is equal to 2 over 1, which is the same as 2:1. Remember, ratio and fractions and division go together. Now, for your case, your ratio will be equal to 80 divided by 40, which is equal to 2 over 1. So this is 2:1. Now, do you notice that as long as we are both subjected to the same light, then the ratio of our, us and our shadows will be the same, okay? Now, what if we had a third person? Let's say we have a friend, okay? Let's say we have a friend whose height is 60 centimeters. This must be a very short person. 60 centimeters, actually a baby. So if we subject them, or if we have them stand in front of the same light, what would be the length of their shadow? So you realize there is a pattern. From 100 centimeters to 50, we divide by 2. From 80 centimeters to 40, we divide by 2. From 60 to the length of the shadow, we divide by 2. So 60 divided by 2 is 30 centimeters. So you will notice that for us to be able to estimate the shadow of this person, then we have had to compare that to the information we got when we were looking at our lengths and the lengths of the shadows. So now we are going to do a more elaborate question to understand this better. Now in this question, we have two objects. We have a flag post, then we have a rod. So our rod has a height of 100 centimeters, okay? Our rod has a height of 100 centimeters, and then if you place it in an open space, it will make a shadow of length 70 centimeters. And then we have a flag post. You know a flag post, like the one that you know, through which you used to raise the flag in school. So the flag post, we do not know its height, because to measure the length of the flag post, you would have to climb up and then measure the length. And since that's a lot of hard work, we can just estimate its length. So the height of the flag post is unknown, but since the shadow of the flag post is on the ground, then it can be measured. So when measured, you find that the length of the flag post is 840 centimeters. So if you look at this, we know the measurements of the rod, but we don't know one of the measurements of the flag post. So we use estimation to estimate the height of the flag post. So to estimate, we must use comparison. Remember, we must use comparison. So we are going to make a ratio starting with the flag post. Now, taking the height of the flag post, divide by the height of the shadow of the flag post, we will form one ratio. But remember, that ratio must be equal to the ratio formed using the information of the rod. So the height of the post over the height of the shadow of the post will be equal to the height of the rod over the height of the shadow of the rod. So notice that when you form this ratio, at the top we have the objects. We have the post, and here we have the rod. And then at the bottom, we have the shadows. So here we have the shadow of the post, and here we have the shadow of the rod. So the next thing is to substitute the values that we have here in this formula, so that we can use that information to get the height of the post. So height of the post is given as h, we do not know it. Divide by height of the shadow of the post, which is 840 centimeters, and this is equal to the height of the rod, which is 100 centimeters, over the height of the shadow of the rod, which is 70 centimeters. So at this point, we just perform basic mathematics through cross multiplication. So 840 times 100. So the height of the rod will be 840 centimeters times 100 centimeters, all that over 70 centimeters. So first of all, about the units, you notice that this centimeter cancels out with one of the centimeters above. So our final answer will have the units of centimeters. So 70 divided by 70 is 1, 840 divided by 70 is 12. 12 times 100 we get 1,200 centimeters. So the height of the rod will be equal to 1,200 centimeters. The height of the flag post will be equal to 1,200 centimeters. And that is how you use comparison to estimate length. I'll now give you one question that you will attempt given some information. Now, using the knowledge that you have learned, attempt this question. Given that the length of a rod is 100 centimeters and its shadow has a length of 80 centimeters, determine the length of a tree whose shadow is equal to 1,600 centimeters. Now formulate the formula, substitute into the formula, and you will get your correct estimate of the length of the tree. Thank you for being in this lesson. See you in the next lesson.